Jay Inslee, this is a real treat to get to come out. We spent the day in Whatcom. It's been absolutely delightful. I just want to share some good news with you. I am a resident optimist in the House of Representatives. I'm an optimist who really believes that the Seattle Mariners are in a pennant race right now. I'm an optimist. I have some good news. We were just over at the Swan Cafe, and Hunjin, who works for our great campaign, has brought, because I believe all Democrats ought to be sweet, has brought organic lollipops for all the Democrats. So I hope you'll try. They tell me that the mangoes are the special one. This has been a fun day for us. I've got to see some old friends. Just ran into Kelly. We were talking to Nancy Steiner about some of the great stuff going on in healthcare up here. It's really exciting, some of the leadership in Whatcom County. I talked to Brad Smith and some friends over at Western Washington University is going to be the first university in the world to have a renewable energy major. Isn't that a great accomplishment? That's really, really exciting. I saw our buddy Pete Kremen, who I served the legislature together. He talked about some progress we've made in about 8,700 acres set aside in the Whatcom lake drainage. And I know Pete asked me to just bring home $75 million to solve the oxygen problem, which I could do if we could stop the Republicans from some of their depredations in that regard. So I thought I would say, well, I don't know everybody in the audience. I'm Jay Inslee. I'm a guy who works just to the south of Rick Larson, who cast a very courageous vote the other day. By the way, Rick voted against the Republicans' effort to stop the EPA from enforcing the Clean Air Act. And it was an important vote for him to take. It was kind of a hard vote. I'm really credited and thank you for that vote. So I'm a guy that's kind of a Seattle guy. I married my high school sweetheart. Chased her for 7 years. She's still been with me for 38 years. I've got 3 grown boys, a wonderful daughter-in-law who's a forensic scientist. We moved over to Yakima for law school and prosecuted drug drivers and raised 3 boys as feral children running through the sagebrush and bushes. Got involved in a school bond issue. Didn't ever think I was going to be in politics, and they were going to start double shifting our high school. We were going to have to double shift and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I got involved. We tried to pass the bond issue for 5 times, and it failed 5 times. And my wife and I got involved, and another couple. We passed it on the 6th try. And then the chowderheads in the legislature a few weeks later cut the funding formula in half. So like many good citizens, I got angry about that and ended up running for the legislature. In one of the first great victories of my life, beat a Republican in the state legislature in Yakima County in 1990. That was a coup in 1992. I was reelected in 1990 and 1992. Another upset, beat a Republican in LA, Republican Central Washington. Went to Congress, was called upon to vote for some tough votes that President Bill Clinton, the one who presided over a tremendous economy, do you remember those days? A vote came up to ban assault weapons in these really, really high capacity clips. And we were about 2 votes short. And people said, well, geez, Jay, it's Central Washington, can you make that vote? Well, I believed it was the right vote then. I voted for it. I believe it was the right vote now. The voters promptly freed me for other duties, so to speak. But you know what? When I see what happened to Gabby Giffords in Arizona, I believe that was the right vote. I've never lost an evening's sleep about that. So returned back to Seattle. Beat a Republican incumbent in 1998, and the reason I beat him is I said the impeachment of Bill Clinton was something that was wrong and we should move on to the nation's business. And that's the reason I was elected. I'm standing up for what I believe are the values of Washington State, which are family, community, and respect for workers. And I want to start in reverse order with the things that I am very appreciative to stand in this Sons of Norway Hall with you. I'm going to start with respect for workers. I've had a lot of jobs in my life. I've driven a cement truck, I've driven a dump truck, I've run a jackhammer, I've painted houses and buildings, I've washed dishes, I've waited tables, I've worked with disabled kids, I've weeded, I've prosecuted drug drivers. I've even stooped so low as to be a congressman. So I'm just kidding about that. I actually think it's a pretty decent thing to do. But because every job I've ever had, the people around me were hard-working people that deserved respect. I'm very angry what's going on in Wisconsin and Ohio right now.
Yeah.
And I believe a fundamental part of America is to respect workers, of all stripes. Whether you're on Wall Street, no matter where you are, you have to be respected as a worker. And let me suggest that if you see Scott Walker, you tell him, look, if you're mad about what's going on in the economy, you ought to be hanging somebody on Wall Street, not a teacher in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons that we have a chance to have a reemergence next November. It's because people are getting sick and tired of this assault on the middle class. And that's what, unfortunately, my friends across the aisle are involved in, is an assault on the middle class. Now, so it doesn't just start on this assault for working people. The second big front on their assault in the middle class is their effort to end Medicare as we know it. Medicare has been one of the most successful programs in American history, reducing senior citizen poverty and ensuring their health. And what the majority party in the House now wants to do is to eliminate the guarantee of Uncle Sam's protection, of wrapping Uncle Sam's arms around our seniors and making sure they have health care, and just giving them a voucher and throwing senior citizens to the sharks in the insurance industry. And by the way, you know what this will do? This will cost every single senior citizen in America who's under this plan $6,000 out of their pocket for their health care that they otherwise would not have to spend. Now and there's only one reason they're doing it. You know what they want to do with that $6,000 that they take out of every senior citizen's pocket? That's right. They want to turn it around and give it to Donald Trump. Well, let me just tell you this. We are not going to allow them to take $6,000 from every senior citizen and give it to the likes of Donald Trump, because imagine what he would do with his hair with those millions of dollars. So we are not going to allow that. This is something we will fight them, and we're going to win this battle. Now, I also want to tell you, I'm proud of the party that fought George Bush, who dug this deficit hole for us. And we as Democrats need to stand up on our hind legs and point out the reason for this deficit. And it's a two-word answer, George Bush. You know why we got a deficit? Because he fought the Iraq War and he borrowed every single dollar, most of it from China, to fight the Iraq War. And I'm proud to say I voted against the Iraq War. And I think it was He continued in Afghanistan, fighting it on borrowed money. He then turned around and did this huge tax cut. Every single dollar of the George Bush tax cut was deficit spending. And it represents fully 38% of the entire deficit is because of George Bush's tax cuts. And that's why I'm proud to say I think I cast a right vote last November to end those George Bush tax cuts for multimillionaires. And I think we need to realize these things. Even the prescription drug benefit they did that left this big donut hole was all deficit spending. So 85% of the deficit that we now have is in some way traceable to George Bush. And he's got to take some credit for the economic collapse that we've had as well. Now, we did the stimulus bill, and that's about 7% of the deficit, and that's done now. But you know what? That was the right thing to do, and I'll tell you why. I went to China a couple years ago with Nancy Pelosi, and we met the president and the premier and all their top business people. And I came home convinced of something that was very clear, and that is that the Chinese were intent on dominating the world economy when it came to clean energy. They realized, as we should realize, that we are going to have an economic revolution in the world in getting off of these dirty fossil fuel-based energy sources and replacing it with the high-tech systems that we know are coming, of solar energy and wind energy that we started a lithium-ion battery manufacturing industry in this country, because if we didn't, the Chinese would. And it's like we're in a race with them, and they're 10 yards out ahead of us, and we're still in the gate. Now, when this stimulus bill came up, our friends across the aisle said that this was a pipe dream. There was no way that we would be able to build a lithium-ion battery manufacturing industrial base in America. And I want to point to them to go to Holland, Michigan, where this year, as a result of the bill that we passed, we have a company making lithium-ion batteries made by laid-off American auto workers using domestic content of their product to sell lithium-ion batteries made in America overseas in American electric cars to sell to China. Now, this is a vision of our future, and it is a great accomplishment of the Democratic Party of the American Party. So this is the type of future that we Democrats are standing for, because we Democrats are the optimists in this debate. We understand that we are smart enough to invent a new future when it comes to clean energy. You know, we're the folks who did go to the moon, we did start the internet, we did map the human genome, we have Boeing, Microsoft, and an emerging biotech community here, right here in the state of Washington. There's tremendous work going on in Whatcom County here in some biofuels issue, and advanced geothermal up in the mountain ranges. In Seattle, we've got Ramgen, we've got McKinstry. In Spokane, we've got Itron. In Moses Lake, we've got REC doing photovoltaics for solar energy. In the Tri-Cities, we've got Infinia. Our state is destined to lead the country, and our country is destined to lead the world in clean energy technology if, in fact, we will simply move on this. And I want to tell you, I am proud to have stood against the Republicans who wanted to repeal the laws of gravity and thermodynamics when they said there's no climate change. We are going to succeed ultimately with this clean energy technological revolution. So, just in closing, I want to ask you to remain optimistic, as we are about the Seattle Mariners, and the chances of our nation in the next several months. We are going to be engaged in a very important debate in this country. And the Republicans are going to try to use this debt ceiling vote that we're running up against our debt ceiling, and the budget vote, and they're going to try to hold hostage every single thing that we hold dear. They're going to continue to try to eliminate Planned Parenthood. They're going to continue to try to eliminate the Environmental Protection Agency. They're even going to try to eliminate Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers, who we enjoy on NPR on Saturdays. And we are going to need to stand together as a party and as a people against this blackmail and try to find a way out of this deficit hole that ends some of these terrible policies of George Bush that got us in this problem in the first place. And I'm hopeful we can have a bipartisan solution to this problem. But we are not going to let them end Medicare as we know it. We're not going to let them repeal the EPA. We're not going to let them stop the progress we're making in science. We're not going to let them take $1 away from Pell Grant until Pell Grant students in Western Washington until GE pays some taxes, okay?
Yeah.
We are not going to let them get away with punishing us just because of this crunch that we are in. And I'm going to look forward to standing with you in that regard. And with that, I want to thank you for a chance to say